I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer some of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. If you would like me to answer your questions in a more efficient and quick manner, then I suggest you get on my wait list for Stand Up and Thrive. The next opening is the first week of June for my membership. I try to answer questions for the paying members in a faster manner and limit myself to 3 questions for the public. So check out the wait list. I will put the link below. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward moving spouse. Her bomb drop is February 24th of 2020 with a date of marriage of 1991. She has a vanisher and she says she's not familiar with energy level terms, or at least what type of energy level in this case, because if you have a vanisher, you might not know because they vanish and you can't see what they're like. She says, my husband was granted his divorce about a year ago. It was very ugly. He refused to comply with the courts and tried to leave me with nothing. We had to go to court 22 times in 3 years, just so that I could get what was granted to me. He's so hateful and angry. He even stole money out of my bank account. He was found to be in contempt of court and was ordered to pay some of my attorney's fees. I'm standing. I'm Christian and believe in the marriage covenant to be until death do us part. There was an alienator, but they've broken up because of the many explosive fights. He's living alone. Is it possible that he's an MLC? And if so, is it possible to restore the marriage after so much ugliness? At every turn, I've been civil because I understand that hurting people hurt people. We are in no contact, and our 2 adult children haven't seen their father or had any contact for 3 years. Okay, so you ask 2 questions with the word possible, but what you really need to know, because anything is possible, and you know that. Is it possible that he's an MLC? Is it possible to restore a marriage after so much ugliness? So, possible MLC, yeah. Let's just go on that as an absolute. He is likely in a midlife crisis. He's at the right age range. The behaviors you're describing. There's an alienator. He has monstered. He's just done it in a very severe way using the court system against you. Midlife crisis right there. Just the basics. Is it possible to restore the marriage after so much ugliness? Sure, it's possible. The question, however, is it probable? And there's 2 things here that I would look at. I would look at the extreme ugliness, as you say, and that he's a vanisher. The probability of reconciliation in your situation is significantly lower than other situations, and it's against all of us. The probability is not on our side. For clinging boomerangs who have the highest rate of reconciliation, it's not 50%, it's not 51% that get more. Most still end up not making it to that point. And often it's because the alienator, or I'm sorry, the left behind spouse and forward moving spouse says, okay, I'm done. So there isn't a chance for it. Is it possible? Yes. With a vanisher, you don't have communication with him. The odds go down. So you come into this already knowing the odds weren't in your favor. For midlife crisis, I had a bomb drop. Most people don't reconcile from it. I want to change that. That's one of the reasons I do this. I would like to get it so that most people do reconcile. Or if I could get one significant group if there was one group that was just almost untouchable, at least the main groups. I want to change the odds. I would love to do that. Vanishers are the group that don't reconcile as very frequently at all. I mean, remember, most of them don't. Vanishers, much more so. And then you've got this court ugliness. He has probably expected you that he's burned his bridges. In fact, maybe he has been deliberately being meaner to you because you're standing and he's trying to get your hope down or burn the bridge. I just want to do it to destroy her so that she doesn't think there's any hope, or so that I don't have the chance to be weak and come back, or she's weak. She's standing for me. Who would stand for me? I wanted to, the more faith you show, the kinder you are, might be the more monster is activated and energized. It depends on the person, but some can be like that. So I like being civil and understanding that hurting people hurt. And that is the way we should be. Sometimes we mix up being civil and being doormats. So I want to make sure that you, while being civil, you might not even be able to, you might be civil and the person is never knowing you're civil because he's vanished. So he doesn't ever see the civility. But I want to make sure that with that, our boundaries are, that is not an appropriate way to speak to me. And I'm sorry you feel that way. But if you speak that way to me again, I will hang up. That's not uncivil. So there are certain things, if we're trying to be so civil that we're like, well, I had to be nice, even though he was being mean to me, maybe you were enabling the monstering to poke more at you or allowing of it. And so I want to be careful that that's also not happening with you. I want to make sure that you have the appropriate boundaries in. And I want to make sure that you are detaching and healing. Because all that he's done to you, no, I'm not going to tell you, why would you want that person back? You've gotten enough of that, haven't you? I get it. Now, what I do want to ask is, let's say he said, okay, I'm ready to come home now, but he hadn't changed at all. He was going to be a monster jerk to you. He was going to cheat on you and continue to steal. He's just going to do it from home. Or let's say there's no infidelity anymore. Maybe he's impotent. But he comes home, but he's still a jerk. Now, you believe marriage is a covenant, till death do you part. What do you do with that? What do you do with him treating you inappropriately if it were within the marriage? At home, him saying, okay, we are reconciled now. You're mine. And I want you to think about it, how you're going to handle these things. Because he's going to come back. And I'm assuming that he wasn't this jerk when you were married to him before. But was he? What did you put up with that needs to change? When we say we're a stander, and that not only are we a stander, we're a covenant-keeping stander. There are some things I want to make sure that you're not doing. I don't want you on the doormat for your values, because then you're selling yourself. I want you to have your values and that faith behind you, but let it lift you up off of that. Say, hey, it still means there are boundaries. It still means you have to treat me appropriately. And I want you to figure out how you're going to handle that, because even if you have been handling it well, as a vanisher, he might not see it, and he still might think you're on a doormat, even if you never were. But that's the challenge of dealing with a vanisher. You could also practice some smart contact, trying to get into there where it's not so much of a vanishing situation. The odds are against you. And contacting somebody who has been so volatile, I'm sure you realize, has its detriments. But if what you want is a reconciliation, I want you to want this reconciliation because you love him. Sure, there's the duty. But let's say now, we talked about him coming home but not changing. Let's say he has changed. Let's say he wants to come home and he has changed. And you say, of course, yeah, we're married. You know, that was your divorce. I married you, and it's still death do us part. And I am a Christian woman. I was standing for our marriage. I took a vow for you. Now, do you love him, though? He might say, I'm not returning to me because she's only standing for our marriage out of duty. And within duty, if it's only that and not the love that comes with it, I don't feel the love, I feel the judgment that comes with it instead. And I don't want that. So I want to make sure that within that platform of covenant keeper, that you have I want to be with him because of duty, because I think it is best for the kids, even though they're adults now, all of those things, and because we have a foundation of love as well. There's still, I want that, because does he want to return to something where he feels that you're doing it because, well, I said I have to, because that's what my vow said, and that's what the Bible says, and that's what this says, and I'm supposed to. He needs more too. At that point, later on, if he gets there. I'm not saying he will. Because remember where the odds are. I know it sucks, especially those odds, but I don't want to lie to you, and I don't want to blow sunshine up you. The odds are you have to figure out how to be a stander if you're going to be a covenant keeper. You can keep doing that for the rest of your life, but you're going to be doing that without him. You're going to be standing rather than reconciling. And that stand, if it's covenant keeping, ends when one of you dies. And I don't want to hope for either of that. I don't want you hoping like, man, I hope he dies so that I can remarry. But I do want you to figure out how to live the fullest life that is within capacity. And you don't need a man for that. Because the odds are he's not coming home. And you're a covenant keeper. So you're married for life. And you treat your life right now like a widow. And you move forward with joy, okay? I hope this is helpful. And I will see everybody in the next question.